hatte schon gesagt, der Titel unseres diesjährigen Summits lautet We Do Mobility, weil wir davon überzeugt sind, dass es eine Mobilitätswende braucht, damit Mobilität nachhaltiger, gerechter und inklusiver wird. Außerdem betrifft der Klimawandel uns alle und unsere individuelle und kollektive Mobilität spielen dabei eine große Rolle. Dabei ist es uns ganz wichtig, nicht nur über die erforderlichen Veränderungen zu sprechen. Auch dafür ist heute genug Gelegenheit da. Uns ist wichtig, die Gelegenheit zu nutzen und konkrete Projekte, Initiative und Beispiele aufzuzeigen aus der Praxis. Denn wir wollen handeln und wir wollen zum Handeln ermuntern und ermutigen. Wir wollen eine Veränderung der Branche, der Mobilitätswelt und diese Veränderung braucht Engagement mit Leidenschaft, Zusammenhalt, Kreativität, ein stabiles und belastbares Netzwerk, Austausch auf Augenhöhe, einen Blick über den Tellerrand und gute Beziehungen. All das findet ihr einerseits im Programm und all das ist WiM Mobility. Und gemeinsam können wir Mobilität ändern.
Für diejenigen, die gestern von euch schon dabei waren, die haben einen ersten Einblick bekommen in unser Statement zur feministischen Verkehrswende. Da gab es 3 zentrale Forderungen, die wir als Women in Mobility vorgebracht haben. Und zwar waren das die Themen Zugänglichkeit und Barrierefreiheit, Sicherheit und Repräsentanz in der Branche. Und nach diesen Kriterien haben wir auch den Summit diese Woche organisiert. Fangen wir an mit dem Thema Zugänglichkeit. Die Veranstaltungen diese Woche finden online in Berlin, in München und dezentral in unseren regionalen Hubs statt. Das haben wir dafür gemacht, dass möglichst viele von euch dabei sein können, um sich mit ihren Ideen und Projekten einbringen zu können. Der zweite Punkt, Sicherheit. Wir bieten hier allen Teilnehmerinnen und die sich bei Women in Mobility engagieren möchten, Raum zum Experimentieren, zum Ausprobieren, zum Lernen, Wachsen und vor allen Dingen auch zum Netzwerken. Wir haben die ganze Veranstaltung aus dem Ehrenamt gestemmt und jede Women in Mobility bringt sich gemäß ihrer Stärken ein. Wir begegnen uns gemeinsam mit Wertschätzung in der Fachlichkeit, aber vor allem auch in der Persönlichkeit. Und der letzte Punkt, Repräsentanz. Es ist uns eine Herzensangelegenheit, so viel wie möglich Role Models auf die Bühne zu bringen und sichtbar zu machen. Wie kann zum Beispiel dein Weg in die Mobilitätswelt aussehen? Wie kann der nächste Step in der Mobilitätswelt aussehen? Nimm dir aus dieser Woche jede Menge Inspiration mit. Und einen letzten Punkt, einen 4. Punkt möchte ich gerne noch hinzufügen. Und zwar ist das Thema Zusammenhalt. Der Zusammenhalt oder auch die Zusammenarbeit. Im Laufe des Tages werdet ihr immer wieder Tandems hier auf der Bühne treffen, die ihre Ideen gemeinsam vorstellen und sich im besten Sinne ergänzen. So wie wir zwei hier, Anne, bei der Moderation, die wir das gemeinsam machen. Und nur mit diesem Zusammenhörigkeitsgefühl im Netzwerk konnten wir den Summit überhaupt stemmen. An dieser Stelle schon mal ein großes Dankeschön an all unsere Supporter, Unterstützer, Sponsoren und auch die vielen WiM, die heute mit am Start sind, wie ich vorhin schon gesagt habe, gut an ihren Buttons zu erkennen. Ohne die wäre so ein Event überhaupt nicht möglich gewesen. Was erwartet uns heute, Anne?
Ja, nachdem ihr jetzt viel gehört habt über den WiM Spirit und unsere Haltung, möchte ich euch gerne sagen, was euch inhaltlich heute erwartet. Auf der Bühne gibt es hier eine Vielfalt an Themen und Persönlichkeiten und nach diesem Empowerment- und Motivationsfrühstück mit Isabella und Ulrike geht es weiter. Wir haben ein bisschen getauscht mit Kerstin Järchel, die einen Einblick geben wird in ihren persönlichen Karriereweg und auch aufzeigen wird, wie wichtig die Mitarbeitenden für die Mobilitätswende sind. Wir springen dann und wagen einen Blick über die Landesgrenzen nach Barcelona und Maíta Fernández Armesto wird uns zeigen, wie das mit den Superblocks in Barcelona funktioniert und uns hoffentlich alle inspirieren. Im Anschluss kommen wir zu einem positiven Beispiel aus der Praxis und zu unserem ersten Speakerinnen-Tandem, nämlich Luise Flade und Anja Steglich. In der Pause werdet ihr viel Gelegenheit zum Austauschen und Netzwerken haben. Der Bereich hinten ist voll mit den sogenannten Side-Events und da haben wir 4 Kategorien. Zum einen die Speakers Corner, wo es immer wieder interessante Rednerinnen gibt. Wir haben die Jobs and Recruiting Area, wo ihr Informationen zu Unternehmen erhaltet und auch jeweils AnsprechpartnerInnen vor Ort sind, die eure Fragen beantworten können. Ihr erhaltet hilfreiche Tipps und Motivationen für die fachliche und persönliche Entwicklung in der Empowerment Area und Erfahrungsberichte aus erster Hand in der Meet and Greet Area. Nach der Pause geht es dann hier auf der Bühne weiter mit dem Panel zur feministischen Mobilitätswende. Kerstin hat gesagt, damit haben wir gestern schon angefangen und das zieht sich wie ein roter Faden durch die Woche, weil uns das Thema sehr am Herzen liegt. Ja, und dann habt ihr nochmal Gelegenheit, die Side-Events in der vollen Bandbreite zu nutzen und abschließend wird Elke Temme mit viel Energie über E-Mobilität als Teil der Mobilitätswende berichten. Und irgendjemand habe ich vergessen. Genau, die neuen Mobilitätsangebote mit Sabrina Schimmel und Sandra Talibian, die möchte ich natürlich nicht vergessen, denn Berlin bildet heute einen Schwerpunkt und deshalb sind die besonders wichtig.
Danke dir, Anne. Dann machen wir weiter mit Kerstin Järchel. Sie ist seit Mai neue Arbeitsdirektorin der Verkehrsgesellschaft Frankfurt und tatsächlich die erste Frau in der Position. Für die nächsten 5 Jahre ist sie gemeinsam mit ihren Geschäftsführerkollegen Thomas Rasch verantwortlich für Finanzen und Michael Rüffer verantwortlich für Technik und Betrieb für mehr als 2600 Mitarbeitende zuständig. Ihre größte Herausforderung wird sein, offene Stellen neu zu besetzen, denn viele Mitarbeitende der geburtsstarken Jahrgänge werden bis 2030 in die Rente gehen. Kerstin hat an der Universität Marburg Jura studiert und leitete zuletzt den Bereich Mitbestimmung der Verdi-Bundesverwaltung in Berlin. Davor war sie seit 2002 Referentin im Bereich Recht und Rechtspolitik bei Verdi und du bist außerdem noch seit 5 Jahren Aufsichtsrätin bei der Commerzbank. Das wollen wir nicht unterschlagen. Komm gerne auf die Bühne.
Ja, Kerstin, lieben Dank für die Anmoderation. Das ist sehr freundlich, ja stimmt. Ich hatte schon einige Rollen und die habe ich noch immer inne. Jetzt bin ich zwar nicht neu in der Mobilitätsbranche, weil dadurch, dass ich in der Gewerkschaft Verdi tätig war, wie Kerstin eben richtig gesagt hat, haben wir natürlich einen großen Anpack zur Mobilitätsbranche gehabt aus Sicht der Beschäftigten. Ich komme vom Juristischen her, das heißt Arbeits- und Personalsachen sind mein täglich Brot bisher gewesen in meiner 20-jährigen Berufskarriere. Und ich hatte, ähnlich wie die Ulrike Haber-Schilling eben gesagt hat, immer Glück, dass ich tolle Menschen an meiner Seite gehabt habe, die es mir ermöglicht haben, jetzt hier an dieser Stelle in Frankfurt meinen Karriereweg weiterzugehen. Ich bin seit Mai Geschäftsführerin und mir ist wichtig den Zusatz Arbeitsdirektorin, weil der Fokus liegt eindeutig auf auch den Personalthemen, weil das ist das, was die Mobilitätsbranche im Moment, glaube ich, am meisten bewegt. Wir werden alle gemeinsam in der Branche, und deshalb ist es wichtig, dass es Veranstaltungen wie die Zukunft Nahverkehr gibt. Wir werden alle an demselben Problem zu knabbern haben. Wir müssen alle die Lücken, die sich auftun werden, alleine dadurch, dass uns Kolleginnen und Kollegen altershalber verlassen werden, müssen wir füllen. Und ich glaube, das geht nur, wenn wir auch und vor allem Frauen einbeziehen. Die Kerstin hat es eben in der Anmoderation gesagt, ich bin die erste Frau in der Geschäftsführung des Unternehmens, was es ja nicht erst seit vorgestern gibt. Ich freue mich darüber, dass man sich entschieden hat, jetzt eine Frau an die Spitze der Geschäftsführung zu setzen und deshalb war es für mich selbstverständlich, hier als Sponsorunternehmen für Women in Mobility für den Summit 2023 einzustehen und ich habe nicht lange gezögert, als meine Kollegin Anne Rückschloss mich dazu befragt hat, die ja hier ehrenamtlich auch ihr Engagement zeigt. Und wir haben 2800 Beschäftigte zum Ende des Jahres, liebe Kerstin, und davon sind es 1100 in der Verwaltung, würde ich sagen, Menschen, die sich eher mit verwaltenden Tätigkeiten beschäftigen. Es sind insgesamt 900 Fahrerinnen und Fahrer. Wir haben auch einen Anteil an Frauen bei uns im Fahrdienst, aber das Thema Dienstplanung, das braucht noch ein paar mehr Gedankengänge, weil, wie die Kollegin aus Bremen es eben richtig gesagt hat, das ist nicht trivial für eine alleinerziehende Mutter. Die kann nicht in 3-Schichten- oder 2-Schichtsystemen einfach mal so arbeiten, wenn sie niemanden hat, der die Kinder betreut, in der Nacht beispielsweise. Von daher braucht es da kluge und auch noch viel zukunftsweisendere Modelle und daran arbeiten wir in Frankfurt. Wir haben außerdem dann auch in der Infrastruktur, Kolleginnen und Kollegen, da freue ich mich in Frankfurt bei der VGF besonders darüber, dass wir eine Geschäftsbereichsleiterin haben, die Ingenieurin ist. Das heißt, die geht schon mit gutem Beispiel voran, auch in der Infrastruktur mehr Ingenieurinnen und Ingenieure zu bekommen. Da müssen wir, glaube ich, auf beide Geschlechter zurückgreifen. Ich bin sowieso für gemischte Teams. Ich glaube, Diversität ist das Thema der Zukunft. Ja, und mein Weg, der war immer geprägt von Wegbegleiterinnen und Wegbegleitern. Vielleicht das zu mir persönlich. Ich arbeite selber sehr gerne, auch heute noch in Teams, und ich hatte immer gute Unterstützer in meinem Team, die mich dahin gebracht haben, wo ich heute bin. Darauf bin ich stolz. Ich habe auch eine Familie, die mich unterstützt. Ich lebe, das ist lustig, dass wir so viele Gemeinsamkeiten haben wie Ulrike Haber-Schilling hier in Berlin und arbeite in Frankfurt. Ich habe im Moment auch 2 Wohnsitze. Ich habe 2 Kinder, eins ist bald volljährig, das andere geht noch zur Schule. Und trotzdem habe ich es immer geschafft, dadurch, dass mir Vorgesetzte die Möglichkeit gegeben haben, auch in Teilzeit zu arbeiten, während die Kinder klein waren und trotzdem Karrierewege zu gehen. Und ich wünsche mir, dass das in Deutschland und in deutschen Unternehmen noch viel, viel mehr angeboten wird, weil ich weiß, im außerdeutschen, europäischen Ausland, wie in Frankreich beispielsweise, ist das eine Selbstverständlichkeit. Vielleicht kann Mara kurz am Rand nachher sagen, ob das in Spanien auch so ist, in Barcelona. Aber es ist auf jeden Fall so, dass es möglich ist, das wissen wir alle, auch Führen in Teilzeit ist möglich. Und ich möchte für die VGF mein Bestes geben, dass wir zur Gleichberechtigung kommen, immer mehr. Weil in Sachen Frauenquote, das will ich auch nicht verhehlen, das kann man auch nachlesen, ist da bei uns noch ganz schön viel Luft nach oben. Der Anteil der weiblichen Beschäftigten liegt noch nicht da, wo ich ihn mir wünsche. Ja, und mein Motto für Karrierewege ist, dass man nur gemeinsam ans Ziel kommt, denn Karrierewege sind als einsame Pfade, so sage ich immer, nicht nachhaltig. Das heißt, man muss sich irgendjemanden an seine Seite nehmen, ob ihr es im Tandem in der Moderation seid oder eben auf dem Weg in irgendeine neue Position im Unternehmen. Man braucht Unterstützerinnen und Unterstützer. Und vielleicht noch ein kleiner Hinweis und Werbung in eigener Sache. Meine Kolleginnen aus Frankfurt, die sitzen hier vorne, die sind extra für die Veranstaltung WiM Summit und auch den Zukunft-Nahverkehr hierher gekommen und haben einen Recruiting-Stand mitgebracht. Katharina Haub vom Bereich aus Anne Rückschloss von der Organisationsentwicklung ist auch da. Ihr habt Material da mitgebracht. Da gibt es Stellen, die man sich ansehen kann. Frankfurt ist cool, kommt nach Frankfurt und arbeitet bei der VGF. Ich würde mich sehr freuen. Oder sagt es jemandem, den ihr kennt. In diesem Sinne wünsche ich allen hier eine sehr schöne Veranstaltung. Mir hat der Auftakt mit dem Frühstück schon sehr gut gefallen. Und weiter so bei Women in Mobility, denn we do mobility und we, das sind wir Frauen. Und gemeinsam mit den Männern kriegen wir das hin mit der Verkehrswende. Ohne Personal geht es nicht und deshalb stehe ich als Arbeitsdirektorin dafür, dass wir mehr Personal, qualifizierteres Personal brauchen und dafür werbe ich auch Tag für Tag bei der Politik. Also, ich wünsche euch weiterhin eine tolle Veranstaltung, freue mich, dass wir als VGF Sponsor sein können und ich glaube, das machen wir wieder. Viel Vergnügen noch euch allen und vielen Dank fürs Zuhören.
Danke dir, Kerstin, für diesen persönlichen Einblick in deinen Werdegang und wie du das geschafft hast. Bei uns wird es jetzt international auf der Bühne. Der Titel des nächsten Vortrags lautet Barcelona's Public Space Transformation, How a City Evolved from Car-Centric to People-Centric. Von den ersten Projekten in den 80er Jahren bis zum Konzept Superblocks. Die Nutzung des öffentlichen Raums in Barcelona hat sich deutlich verändert. Maíta Fernández Armesto teilt ihre Erfahrung aus der Praxis mit und bezieht die Geschlechterperspektive dabei ein. Maíta, bienvenida a Berlin. Valoramos muchísimo que has aceptado nuestra invitación a Berlín y que nos vas a dar un resumen sobre un proyecto importante de desarrollo urbano en Barcelona, la vibrante capital de Catalunya. Der Vortrag wird auf Englisch stattfinden. Ich frage mal die Regie, ob sie uns noch die richtige Folie macht.
Wir können nur vor.
Danke. Kurz zu Maíta. Maíta is an architect with a master's degree in landscape architecture, and she's working for the Barcelona City Council and is currently deputy manager for the urban planning and housing area. She has been former deputy manager for urban ecology and transversal projects coordinator for mobility in Barcelona. And Maíta started her career as chief of projects for architecture in the private sector. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, the organization, for having me. Thank you so much. I know this event is important for you, and I'm really happy to be here to present the evolution of Barcelona, because the superblocks are nothing if you don't understand the global context. The second thing that I want to say is, sorry, I don't speak a word of German, so my apologies. I'll try to make it as simple as I can. The thing is that having a person speaking for 30 minutes is always quite boring, so I try to bring you a presentation that is full of images so you can see and understand what I'm saying, so you get the whole picture. And if anyone is interested, you can always join me through the organization, through Women in Mobility. The city is well known for its availability to explain, to receive groups. So if your city, your organization is interested in our contents, please join us. No trouble. So we put aside the logistics, and we start with the transformation. As said, I will explain you how the city has evolved. That will be a short first part of the presentation, and then I will explain you what we are trying to do in the city. If I can make this work. Yeah, perfect. So this is Barcelona. Come with me, travel some thousands of kilometers, and we are here. So you see that our urban fabric is quite dense, extremely narrow, and we are surrounded by green areas, but on a hill, so it's not easy to go to the other side. And you cannot see it in this picture, you will see it later, but we have two rivers, one here and one on the other side, so we cannot get bigger. And that's a key issue for us. We have what we have. You can see it here in the plan. So you see the purple area is the municipality of Barcelona. And you see one river on this side, one river on the other side. And you see the green areas that are surrounding. So this is the metropolitan area. The city cannot grow bigger. The metropolitan area cannot grow bigger. Administratively, yes, you can. You can always join municipalities to the back. But the geography says that the urban continuum is limited to this. This is what we had. We had a small town here. That's the Roman site. And then at the 19th century, the city needed to grow. We were too many. So the Cerdà, an engineer, proposed this solution to expand the city and start the lines to connect with those small settlements in the surroundings. But they were far. Think that people from the city center went to spend their holidays in those boroughs outside the city. That was the holidays area. So now that you see that was the project. The project were building with a certain density, but keeping spaces for green areas, having public transportation, in this case tramways, having bicycles or water revolution, and having quite a lot of people in the streets. Well, this is not exactly what happened. At the very beginning, this is downtown, El Paralelo, if some of you have been to Barcelona, this is El Paralelo at the very beginning of the 20th century. You can see that people is everywhere. There is a tramway there. There is no issues with cars. Cars were not there. We were lucky yet. Also, you can see, and that's quite important, how we use the city for. So you see that there are production fabrics there, but housing was there as well. All this will be transformed later in the city. So what happened? The first thing, money. If you build just two sides, you get not all the profit that you can. So first, you make it just a little deeper. Then you use the inside of the block. Then you just build the four sides of the block, and then you grow on high. So that's what happened. That's the power of money. That's the profit, the maximum profit that you can get from the system. But it's really not healthy. Otherwise, there was a conception, this is Barcelona as well, this is how we saw it at 1954. The people were small areas connected to other small areas with main lines that cross the territory. So you see it, it's not a connection, it's something quite a strange look from an actual perspective. This is the next evolution. It's, okay, we said, we understand we need to think about the city as an urban continuum, so the plan is a master plan for the whole metropolitan area, and this is from 1976. So you see, yet the rivers, yet the green areas that block the passage, and some developments on the other side of the green areas. This is the basis of the city that we know today. But this is what we get when we went into the details. So the buildings were compact, and the streets were full of vehicles, motor vehicles, no more people, no more bicycles, no more green, almost, in the streets. And we didn't like it. We didn't really like it. This is how Barcelona is, more or less, nowadays. So you see, it's an extremely dense, compact city. This is very important because we are really, really efficient providing urban services. If you talk about cleaning, if you talk about maintenance of the public space, it's easy. We are compact. We are not all spread all around. So from that point of view, it's just not perfect, but not that bad. On the other side, if you see it, there is no green. It's only a gray city. And that's a huge issue. So the city knew it. The city felt it. So from that plan that I showed you before, from 1976 to 2010, 1,188 modifications were done. That's huge. So now, and we are 2023, we are still approving a new metropolitan plan. Now, urban planning needs a long-term vision and a long term to develop and implement. It doesn't stop us because we can make some modifications, but on the other hand, this is the vision of the city. This is where we want to go. So we needed to keep it up to date to go faster and more efficient. Yet, the city evolved inside. Those are photos from the before and the after, and that was the 80s. At the end of the 20th century, the city understood that we needed more space, public space, space for people. Our understanding, well, finally, we live in Barcelona. Probably you know that we live quite a lot in the streets. We use the street. We spend many hours in the streets. And we didn't have streets, we didn't have places for us, for the people. So the city started to demolish some blocks, to transform big avenues, to transform all production tissues, transform them into parks. That's the 80s, working towards the Olympics. That was one of the main points of inflection for our city. But what was the concept? The concept was that we needed to create different big points of attraction. And it didn't really work well. You can see here that the points were spotted all around the territory, but it was not enough. We needed something else. We transformed the coast. Barcelona didn't have a beach. Yeah, most of you don't know that. But there was only a small beach in San Sebastian, right there, but the rest was occupied because there were some machines. The production were close to the sea to put the sewers directly into the sea. So we didn't have a real littoral border. So we needed to transform it, and we transformed it adding space and adding space for people. Of course, cleaning the water, of course, treating all that areas, of course, putting the big productions aside just to recover that space for housing, for human activities other than production. So, yeah, this is why I need to explain you the whole transformation, the whole understanding. You can transform from the big scale, from the metropolitan scale, then go to the municipal scale, and then you go into the details, and you have the details, the pictures of the superblocks that you will see at the end. So this is the transformation, the before and after. What we had, the occupation, informal occupation, there were informal settlements, there were, well, it was kind of a disaster, and what we have. This is 2004, another significant point in our history. It's the Forum of Cultures, and this part is from the Olympics. So we transformed the whole coastal area of the city to have it for the city. Always thinking in having new green spaces. If you see that picture, you see that it's not the same that the one that I saw before, that you saw before. There are spots, green spots. So it starts, that's the beginning. We realize that we have needs that are not covered by our urban fabrics. So this is the transformation. This is 2004, the Forum de Culturas, the new coastal line built with housing, with equipment dedicated to people, and the continuation with the former, the previous urban tissue. So this is what it is. That could be last weekend, in fact. So this is what we have. When you provide the space, people come. Maybe too many. But the truth is that if you allocate the space, at least for us, people come and use it in as many ways as you cannot imagine. There are people just playing volleyball. There are people trying to play football. That's not that easy to have that much space. But there are people swimming, walking, talking, just using the space. But these are our problems right now. We have a problem with air pollution that comes from traffic in our case, probably in most cases as well. We have a problem of noise. We have a problem, of course, of accident rate. We have a problem with the use of the public space. We have a climate crisis. We have still lack of green, and we have a sedentary lifestyle. So you see, this is Barcelona. This is our Barcelona right now. And what you see is that it's foggy, and we don't want to live in a foggy city. So most of these issues are related to mobility. In our case, for air pollution, The main cause is traffic. 60% of emissions are caused by traffic. So the only conclusion that we can have is that we need to change the model. We need to go further. We need to transform the city. We cannot go out. We cannot grow up. So the only thing that we can do is reinvent ourselves. This is air pollution. You see that the tram à Cerdà, what I saw you, what you saw just before, is perfect for providing services. It's extremely efficient for a metro network, for a bus network, for vehicles, but it's horrible for air pollution. All this information is available in our website, but at the same time, I'm sorry because this is in Catalan, but the reduction is 30% with the last interventions in the area. So this is the way. This is the only way we have. This is noise. Most of the city is colored in red or darker, and you still see the pattern. You can identify the pattern. So the pattern is perfect for some things. It's the use, the mobility use of that pattern that makes it unlivable. This is the traffic noise. It's the main cause of travel at that point. 130 deaf people, casualties due to noise. This is the accident rate. We had 22 deaths in 2019. We had 23 in 2022, and this year, 16. That's a lot. That's a lot. Too much. But we always have problems of use of a space. That's gentrification. This is what we are having, how we can project our public space without knowing where it's people, what is happening in the different neighborhoods. We had 73 different neighborhoods, and this is what is happening. You still see the city center. The city center suffers from that congestion, from that excess of capacity. And we have plenty of vehicles. The most charge of vehicles is always at the city center because they can be there. So we need to take a part aside from there. So what is worse, we are so lucky that we almost have 6,000 vehicles per square kilometer. That's the highest density in Europe. So we don't need that. There is a climate crisis. We have, well, I don't have to share this with you because you know it. There are emissions of CO2. We exceed the emissions. We have a climate crisis. We have a heat island effect that it's huge. Guess where? At the center. We have a lack of green. What you see is the center. So the city is acting. We are proposing green corridors to try to bring the green across that built area. Because you cannot think that the city will disappear. You cannot think that you will just demolish all this amount of housing and activities that are the heart of the city, but you need to act. So one of the ideas, and this is from 2019, but it's older than that, is to create corridors, green corridors, start to bring back nature to the city. And this is what happened. This is what we had. So you see cars, yet this picture is not that old because the bicycle lane is there, but we changed it into this green corridor, creating new spaces for people, improving biodiversity. This is the image, and this is the section. So you see that there are a big space for pedestrians with areas to stay, with playgrounds, with different uses at the sides, and then at the center, there is still mobility, the mobility that was needed. No excess, no parking lanes. And then we have an issue is a sedentary lifestyle. People do not move. Everything is, you are supplied by networks, so you don't really need to make a big effort, and that's not good. So why do we need to regenerate our city? Because we cannot go elsewhere. So if you look at the metropolitan area, we need to reduce the urban inequalities. You see that there are critical areas within our territory, and we need to make it more balanced, because a rich city is a city that is well balanced. We need to control the tourist impacts. You can see the cartography of the most photographed places in the city, and you still see the center. So we need to work on that. What is pretty funny is that we made a study on tourism in Barcelona just to tackle the question, and what we found is tourists said that there were too many tourists visiting us. So it was pretty funny. Yet people seems to be happy, other than the long lanes to get access to some monuments. We need to reconcile the different scales, the global scale, the airport. Probably you don't know it, but there is quite a discussion right now in Barcelona and surroundings, because some propose a new lane for the airport, and I have to say most of us think that we don't need it. We prefer the train. We need to work at the urban and metropolitan scale, and then we go to the detail, we go to the human scale, and all that space that we can allocate acting on the third and on the two first areas, in the global scale and in the urban and metropolitan scale, then we can use it and make it really a place to enjoy for people. We have a huge issue. This is not a drill. That's the last campaign. We have a climate emergency declaration. The city really thinks that we need to act to fight climate change. And it's quite important that politicians make these kind of statements, because finally they decide where we put the money on. So it's really relevant for us that they take the issue seriously. We need to promote a short-distance city, and here the compact city is great. We have a quite narrow mobility network. Here is all the movements that you can do in the city, so it's really well connected in most of the areas. That's another issue. We need to increase the stock of social housing, not directly related with mobility, but directly related to rebalance the territory. For that, we need to create new solutions. The standard housing as we know it is not enough. So those are kind of cooperative systems to develop buildings that were not allowed by the law. It was not conventional, so it was not included, and it was hard to change the legal framework for this to be developed. So it's about the legal framework as well. We need to make it evolve at the same time, at the same speed that the city. The city has bought some buildings to put them, to offer them for social housing. It's on the same line. So we pass from this network from these new polar areas that we knew that they didn't work to a new polycentric urban systems. This goes to the city of the 15 minutes. This goes to, you need to have everything in a small environment, surroundings around you. So we still transform the city. This is the area where the urban fabrics, the production areas, are still there. If you see, the pattern is not that clear in some areas. So we are transforming, we are going for the pattern, but a new version of the pattern. I'm really sorry, I forgot to bring here one picture of the new streets in this area, and they are wonderful. They are integrating drainage systems. So it's kind of a linear park, 20 meters or 30 meters wide, where you can walk, and only mobility for cars is restricted to the real minimum. So we think how to transform it, but we think it's not only about housing, it's not only about those new models of housing, it's about thinking about the city, thinking if you put housing, you will need activity, you will need a small supermarket, you will need schools, you will need equipment, you will need green areas, you will need sports equipment. You have other needs. It's much more complex than just saying this is housing. So we are thinking how we can do it. And the sessions are open to the citizens. We do this with the people. So we try to combine different uses. We need to increase sometimes the built area in consolidated zones, but we need to make it in a totally different context. We need to increase the green areas, so you see the nature plan of the city, and we use the space we have, and we have roofs. We don't have much rain, so we have flat roofs, and we use them to increase the green areas. It's a new model of green, and we use the walls to create green walls. If you don't have flat space at the floor level, why don't we use other levels? And now this is a project that will be developed on the next 4 years. We have just switched the government. Mayor Colau has not won the elections. Now it's Mayor Colboni. And one of the big inputs is to develop this model, the green blocks interiors, to make green available in that centric area of the city. So if you see the plan, you can cover quite a lot of the city center, providing a green space for everyone within 5-10 minutes, walking from your place. So it's a huge gain for the city. Well, levels of air pollution, we are working we have implemented a low emission zone. This is the city that we have, but it can be better. So we are working to make it better. This is the original system. The Superblock model decided to put the pattern in 3x3 blocks, but it didn't really work for us. I mean, it's quite hard when you pass from 100 meters wide to 500 meters wide. It doesn't combine well with our way of living. So the model has evolved into a model of axis where you can act on basic streets where you have all the mobility services, secondary streets that provide services within a small perimeter, and then green axis. And then it's where you see the difference. For that, coming to that conclusion, the study, the concept, the revolution, it's quite easy. It's quite, you can say, this is obvious, but it's not that much. If you put pedestrians at the beginning, then bicycles, then public transportation, and at the end the car, the model that comes is the other one, is the previous one. So what we are doing, we are transforming the current streets, 4 lanes, into 2 lanes for vehicles, 1 lane for public transportation, 1 lane for bicycles. So it's exactly the same dimension, but changes completely the concept of the street. Then the local streets, from 4 lanes, we have 1 lane and 1 lane of services. Could be parking, but it's not the most important. It's much more important that it's a service lane. And then you have green streets, and then vehicles are not supposed to enter. They do enter. People need to reach their homes with a car sometimes. If you are moving from one flat to another, if you have services that need to be delivered, you need to access, but you cannot stay. That reduces hugely the number of vehicles accessing the street and allows us to use the street for other things. The transformation of the bus lane. The bus lane in Barcelona was pretty funny. It was impossible to understand 5 years ago because it was built over the time. So when a line was needed, was created from here to there and something in the middle. And then you have a network that no one can understand. But it's a bus network, it's not fixed, so we can just think it differently. And this new bus network was created, so if you take a bus that is V, you know that you're heading from mountain to sea, from sea to mountain. If you have an H, you're going from river to river. And if you're D, you're just crossing. It's easy. Normally, when it was planned with 1 change, you can do more or less anywhere in the city. You take 1 and 1 and you get it. So it makes the network much more efficient as well. The infrastructure of green corridors, if we put the green axis in there, we can increase the nature of the city. If I show you this is Meridian Avenue. Well, you will say, okay, this is nothing, it's just 1 street. But if I show you this, the change is huge. And if I show you this is what we had. This was the first transformation, and this is what we have now. That's the story of the city, how we are changing our minds to adapt to our new necessities. And our new necessities are clean air, less noise, less air pollution, without losing the comfort of services. So you see the transformation. People is using the central space. And you know, there are no big issues with cars. Well, only on Sunday evening when they are all getting back to Barcelona, but we can live with that. Any city can live with that. This is the detail. So it's a space that is renatured and people can use. I go fast now because I think I'm running out of time, so I will pass all the images quite quickly and leave the floor open for questions. So Diagonal Avenue, it's the same. We are using the transformation of the Diagonal to implement a new tramway that will connect all the Diagonal by tram. It's a project that has been there in place for a long time. And you see the transformation, always using the transformations to increase the space for people, to promote the active trips. And so this is Parque de las Glorias. It used to be a huge ring for vehicles, and now it's a park. It's under construction. It will be under construction for years yet, but this is the space that we are getting, and oh, surprise, if we have this space, people goes there. And this is the change of mind from traffic to people. Where you used to have a junction, you can have people. So very quickly, this is the first superblock. It was made on transitory elements, so it could be removed if it didn't work. And oh, surprise, you give this space to people, and people come and use it. So very quickly, so those are real photos from real people. And the increase of biodiversity, suddenly we discovered that we had butterflies in the city. People using it, new activities, the evolution of the superblocks, the redensifying of green, the change of the pattern, Conseil de Seine, that was, well, you will see the pictures now. This is the render, so this is yet not reality, but this is reality on the right side. It's already built, and people is there, and people is using it. There was another initiative, have a little space in front of every school of the city. On the last 4 years, we did 200 schools, providing this kind of space, taking out the cars, for security reasons, for pollution reasons, for noise reasons, and for providing a space for kids. And they use it, increasing the services for the bicycles. And what is critical is the participation of neighbors in the project. If the neighbors come, they participate, and they make the project their own. And that's really important, because if not, they will just refuse it. So I just added this slide to show you the process. It's not one time, it's not 2 times, it's several times. And there is a commission that makes part of the process, and we have a free open source participatory platform, and the engagement, different sessions with special collectivities, in this case, blind people, or people with other necessities, kids, co-participatory elements, and well, this is what we have, and the school bus, and this is real. These are the axes that are real. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for being late.
Yes, thank you, Maíta, for your insights and the actions you take in Barcelona, from which I'm sure we can learn a lot. And looking at the pictures, I hope our next summit will take place in Barcelona. But now all of us have the opportunity to ask questions. Please, first your name, your function, and then the question. Who has, I see the first question over there.
Hi, my name is Maíta. I'm working as a marketing manager in the ticketing industry technology. I have a question. How skeptical were people and the citizens before the transformation started? Were they in so much pain they were crying for transformation, or were they skeptical?
I'm sorry, it's quite distorted.
Okay, I speak louder. The citizens, before the transformation started, were they skeptical or asking for a change?
Yeah, always skeptical. I mean, well, if we look at ourselves, I have to say that when a change arrives, we don't like it. If it's someone else who proposes it, so if your husband comes to your place and says, okay, I think that we can change our flat for a bigger or smaller one, wait. So this is reality. If you talk with people and explain your idea, and that's the key question, it's your idea, they will say, I don't know, I don't see it, there are many inconveniences, how will you, blah, blah, blah. So that's the issue. We start with sessions. In most of cases, each process is different, but in most of cases, we start at the very beginning. We collect necessities, and then technical people provide solutions. So you don't focus the conversation on which kind of bench I want in the public space, but you focus the conversation is there are collectivities such as KID, the elderly, or I don't know, associations from the area that will use that space in a precise mode, and it has to be compatible with the rest of necessities. So that's the objective. And then people do not throw, but they take the project, they start thinking. Sometimes they say, okay, in my head it was different, but I understand what you're saying, so it's easy. And of course, there is always a small group, normally it's small, of oppositors to the, to the idea. So, well, that's what it is. And after, what we have checked is that normally you need a period after the works of 6 months, and then people do not complain anymore. More or less 6 months.
Yeah, my name is Regina Weber. I'm working at the German Center for Rail Traffic Research, and I'm working also on public involvement in infrastructure. So I was wondering, thank you for explaining how you actually get the public into the discussion, but who were your allies? Like, who were you working with in the civil society or politics? Like, what was sort of your network as a city to get it done?
Well, the City Council of Barcelona has, who is working on this? The leadership of the projects is from the City Council, the technical services of the city, and then normally we launch, how do you, the word in English? We contract services. We open a contest for design in some cases. In the case of Superblocks, it was an open contest for pluridisciplinary teams based with, at least with an architect in the team. And then when we have the project, it's open for constructors to make their offers. So, and always surveilled by the city. We can talk. I don't know if I answered your question, if that.
Like, do you involve citizens in your planning process already?
Students.
Citizens.
Citizens, yeah, sure. But not, the citizens are involved in the participatory process, so from the beginning, during the works, and until the end. And even sometimes there is a commission that lasts sometimes even 1 year after the works. But they are not engaged with the city. They don't have a contract. They are just, they are welcome to participate at any of the stages of the process. Yeah.
Any more questions? So I take the time and ask one myself. So from your experience now and looking back, would you change something in your approach in Barcelona?
Yeah, of course. One thing that has been quite controversial is the tactical urbanism. People do not accept well that mine is tactical when theirs is consolidated. So tactical needs to be explained in another way. Tactical means exactly that. This is a test. This will last for maybe several years, but is not oriented to stay forever. And if it goes well, you can consolidate it, but if it doesn't, you can transform it again and consolidate it later with the new inputs. So it needs to be understood other ways. And the other lesson learned is that, well, you know, with the pandemics, our city did the same number of works that we do in 4 years. We did it in 2. That was way too much for the citizens. They were extremely tired of having works all around. So choose your battles.
Thank you. Any more questions here in the audience? So if we decide to have the Superblocks in Berlin or Frankfurt, do you have an advice for us?
Sorry?
If we want to adopt the concept of Superblocks in Berlin or Frankfurt, what advice do you have for us?
First of all, you probably do it, but open a citizen process of co-participation, so include the citizens to make the project theirs and not only yours. That's the first thing, and then ask for their necessities. As far as I see here in Berlin, and unfortunately I don't know the city, but you have plenty of space. Probably your problems are other than the space, the maintenance, security, or other issues that worry your citizens, so your own model of superblocks is different. We had some experiments, some experience of superblocks, cultural superblocks. So you put activities in to make the space dynamic and used for the purpose that you want and not for others. So there are plenty of possibilities, and not all of them are physical. So discuss with people, see what they need, apply your technical layer, and then offer your own model of superblock.
Thank you. I'm sure we can learn a lot from your experience. Any more questions? I didn't see. Yes, in the very back.
Hi, my name is Andreas Czezek from Offenbach, Germany. I work in design, and I have a question. You talked a lot about participation. Sometimes I feel like communicating to different age groups is hard on a verbal level. Did you have the experience that did you have any tools that helped you to envision future scenarios in Barcelona, like models or pictures or anything that helped you besides talking?
Yeah. Well, at the municipal level, now we have a change. So what I could show you 4 months ago is no longer not available, always is available, but at the point. There are different scales. One scale is the urban planning scale, the vision from 250 years in the future. And that is run together with the metropolitan government, and we are approving the plan. That's one huge vision, but it's huge, so little detailed. Then you have the municipal plans. There are plenty of actions that are in place, under construction, such as the tramway. No one will stop that. So the city is giving continuity to some of the actions. And then there are other options. For example, the green axis. Apparently, the next 4 years we will focus on the inside of the blocks instead on the outside of the blocks, and that's a political decision. So according to the different scales, there are some decisions that are forever. So if you open a big avenue, that will last. There are some decisions that can be changed in a medium period of time, such as the bus network. If we decide to make little adjustment, can be done right now, but if you want to make it bigger or explode it in a different way, you need to change the model, and it's more or less 10 years. And then there are small things. So the reurbanization, the reoccupation of those insides of the blocks can be done in the next 4 years for some of them. So it depends on what scale you're talking to me. And for the citizens, the main message is that we are still providing services, so continuity is ensured, and we have a vision of the city is a city where you can live better. But better means different things according to different, I won't say political, but different visions, if you want. So sometimes the accent, you put it on economical activity, sometimes you put it in sustainability. The mix of them is what gives you our future.
Thank you. There's time for one more question. I can't see one.
There.
Oh, yes, there.
Hi, Alexandra Hanger. I'm working at Alfred Herrhausen Gesellschaft, a foundation based in Berlin. And I was wondering if you could elaborate a little more on mobility. Well, after the transformation, have you seen any major differences in the use of cars, walkability? Thank you.
Well, when you put people first, people walks. Any one of us walks from home to the car, from the parking slot to the offices. So walkability is the most important. And we spend quite a lot of money keeping our sidewalks, for example, in perfect conditions. If you come to Barcelona, you will see that walkability is always a priority. Then you have the rest of users, and it can be balanced according to the political ideas of the government. We have developed, well, it's huge if you compare to 8 years ago, but it's small if you compare it to the real needs of the city. We have a bicycle network that is growing and it's developing, but needs to be rethought. I think it's the same case for here. The oldest bike lanes probably have issues that technical people learn from there, and then you evolve and you create new ones that are better. I'm talking about wide, I'm talking about signals, I'm talking about different conditions of the city, and that's a second priority. So we need to make some of our lanes more better, and instead of building more. At least this is the priority right now. And there is a consensus that we cannot increase the number of cars, and in the mobility plan, the objective for the next 5 years is to decrease the use of the private vehicle in 24%, 24, 26, I'm not sure, so just don't trust the number, but it's somewhere around that. That means that we need to provide other services for people moving around the city in comfort. And it's not here, but if you, I think there is an abstract in English. If you're interested, if you look at our mobility plan, there are different initiatives, so working with enterprises to create displacement plans for them, specifically for their people. There are initiatives for schools, there are plenty of different lines of actions in order to reduce the use of private vehicle. So we need cars, yes, but probably we don't need them as much as we use them.
Thank you, Maíta, for sharing your experience and knowledge on the Superblocks with us and coming all the way to Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.